Hi guys, welcome to a special edition of Boxing Deep Dive. This is the review of HANEY versus KAMBOSOS. Well, it's all over. It's come and gone. There's such a massive build up to it, and that's how these events go. They're so massive and it's so enthralling, and then when it's over, it's like a big letdown and almost like you're hungover. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I obviously watched the fight from here in New York. I wasn't at the stadium, obviously, or watching on the Australian telecast. So I'd be interested to hear what you guys maybe have to say about how the Aussie commentators saw it. From this angle, though, look, I suppose the biggest thing to say out of it all is that how surprising, well, maybe it was surprising, not surprising, how HANEY rose to the occasion and totally dominated George Kambosos. I'm not sure whether you saw my other preview of the fight in the Talking Boxing a couple of days ago, but I wasn't quite sure what to make of the fight, how it would react out. Look, I must admit there was a little, I suppose, a feeling in the back that what happened in this fight could happen, but you've got to judge the fighters on their previous fights, and George was absolutely unbelievable in that fight against Lopez, so you had to give him the respect. And I think you would have seen also that I said that the big question was whether George could rise to the occasion again after the heroics of the Lopez fight, and unfortunately he didn't. HANEY just showed all class, and I did say as well that HANEY knew exactly what to expect from George, whereas Teofimo Lopez didn't. Well, he probably to some extent, but didn't respect George, and as I said, he paid the price. But I think Devin Haney was very well prepared. I know he had the dramas with his dad, but his dad did the whole camp leading up to, I think, 2 weeks before it or whatever it was when Devin Haney come over. So he would have done all the lead up in the prep, and obviously they would have been speaking on the phone and Skype or whatever it is they use these days. So he came in and he did what very, very good fighters do, and he got the job done. Look, I must say, yeah, not disappointed in George, because you can only do the best you can do. But what I was disappointed in the most was the lack of, as they say in football, plan B. When things aren't going your way. It was obvious that Devin Haney, as I said the other day in the preview, he was using the jab and he used it beautifully. He stuck it out. He speared it out. He unsettled George, didn't let him find his base and plant his feet and let any bombs go, and just used it to perfection. When George got close, he would either tie him up or step off to the left or to the right. Really didn't give George a chance to really set himself and punch. So, look, full credit to Devin Haney. As I said, disappointed in the probably coaches of George Kambosos, or look, maybe it was a combination of both. I did hear a little bit in between rounds. I don't think the messages coming from the corner really gave George any real input in how to change the direction of the fight, because he lost the early rounds clearly. Maybe the second round was close, I thought. But yeah, as I said, the messages coming from the corner, I don't think really gave George a chance to refocus or recalibrate, or whatever it might be, and change plans mid-fight. And Devin Haney just did the same thing every single round. Jab, throw the 1-2, tie up, move to the side, and start again. And world-class fighters at that level need to be able to change. And don't get me wrong, I know it's easy, very, very easy to say, and I know it's been all obviously the keyboard warriors out there. Why didn't you do this and why didn't you do that? Why didn't you just get close? Take it from me, after being boxing at some sort of elite level, sometimes the fighters are just too good, and I think in this instance that's really what it came to. A combination of the coaches, as I said, and the tactics. But look, end of the day, Devin Haney is an elite fighter. He proved why he's probably the number one lightweight in the world. He's got the belts. I don't necessarily subscribe to the fact he's the number one lightweight just yet. I think he's got to get past Lomachenko first, and maybe not so much Ryan Garcia, but maybe a Tank Davis. I don't know. But yeah, with the fight itself, as I said, I think Devin, he fought exactly the way that I thought he would fight. George tried. He tried to sort of rough him up and tried to bowl those punches in. But Devin Haney, he saw the punches coming from a mile away. A few times George loaded up and missed by a couple of feet. Haney just saw them coming and slipped or weaved or simply moved to the side, and George really couldn't get his rhythm. Haney found his rhythm and range really early, which is again the sign of a really good fighter. And once he realised that George really wasn't or didn't have the ability to change his tactics, he just settled in for the ride. He settled in for the 12 rounds and just did the same thing every single round, one after the other. But after about the 6th or 7th round, I was sort of thinking, what is the corner of George going to do? And I think Jeff Fennick might have commented. I obviously had the American feed, so I couldn't hear the live stuff, but I did read that Jeff had some things to say that he wasn't happy with the comments either, and I've looked at the YouTube footage and that sort of stuff, so I can see what they said. But he agrees. We agree with each other that the messages coming out just didn't really give him a chance to win. And I know he's an elite fighter. He's got to change himself sometimes. The coaches in the corner can only do so much. They do get a lot of credit out there, but their work's more done in the lead up to the fight rather than during the fight. But you can have some just little tweaks that you might have worked on in camp where you can say, George, this is not working. We're not getting close enough. You're not closing the range. So now you've got to really try and cut the ring off. Don't let him have those angles. Maybe it's a balk to the body and come over the top with a right hand or something, just something to get himself close. Maybe it's some balks and feints, and maybe it's rushing him, whatever. But just some little things that they would have prepared for, to say, all right, George, this is not working. Now do this. Well, this is not working. Now do this. Because I think when you come out the ring, you've got to have that. The feeling that you've emptied the tank, you've given it the all, no stone's been unturned, and I think you can handle that. My motto all the time when I was fighting is, I didn't like losing, of course, but I can handle losing if I've done absolutely everything in my power to get the win. And if you don't get it, well, what else can you do? You can accept it. But and I think George would have this feeling now. He would have got out of that ring yesterday and thought, geez, I really didn't leave it all in the ring, and I didn't try anything different, and he simply followed Haney around the ring the whole fight. And I know he was getting frustrated, but as I said, Haney just settled in for the 12 rounds, and there was no real pressure on him. Haney has been known to gas a little bit in fights or lose his composure a little bit in fights. George just didn't get him out of his comfort zone, and he just did every single thing the same way every round. So again, congratulations to Devin Haney. A little bit surprised after the fight. Well, one thing I was pleasantly surprised with, I will say, even though there was a little bit of argy-bargy afterwards, one thing I was really happy with is that George showed, in my opinion, a lot more respect in defeat than he did in the lead up to the fight. I've got to say I was disappointed by the whole KAMBOSOS team, the way they really handled it in the lead up to the fight. We all love George. He's our champion, and we all have so much respect and admiration for him for that fight. I just don't think he needed to do all that talking and bravado and trash talk and all the shit, especially with his dad and his with all the drama. I just think that they let themselves down a little bit in that area. Probably end of the day, they were trying to upset and unsettle Haney. I think they ended up upsetting themselves. I think they lost focus on what they were there to do. I think George got caught up in the whole thing about trying to hype the fight up and trying to hype his supporters up and maybe hype himself up. Obviously, that's the way he gets himself up. But I think I said that nothing rattled Haney. He's a complete professional. I think him and his team handled themselves with absolute class and dignity and respect through the whole thing. So hats off to them. But yeah, as I said, I just think George and his team, I would really like to see maybe and hopefully they learn from this, maybe his dad just take a little bit of a back seat in the whole lead up to it all. Let George do his thing. Just step back a little bit. I know he's your son and you want to support him and you want to get behind him and everything else, but the whole dad thing, it's not just this instance. We saw it with Lopez. We've seen it in the past with Robert Guerrero and Garcia and all those types of guys, and I just don't like it. So hopefully maybe George and his team sits down and says, look, going forward, if we're going to have any opportunity or any chance at getting these belts back or getting to that elite stage again, maybe we just need to change a few things up. Yes, George, we all know you're the Spartan warrior. We all, all that sort of stuff, but just keep it real. And I think Haney knocked it on the head actually during the lead up when he said, bro, just be yourself. But yeah, that's no disrespect to George. I know he that's the type of person that he is. He needs that G up, and he needs the people around him. But yeah, that's just the way I saw it. It's just my opinion. So, but yeah, as I said, Haney and his team handled themselves with complete respect. I know there was a little bit at the end of the fight with the two dads. I'm not sure. I did see that maybe Devin Haney's dad might have had a few things to say. I'm not sure. Still too soon after the fight to check all the vision and everything about it. But there was a little bit. But credit to both fighters. I'm pretty sure that Kambosos and Haney both said, hey, guys, the fight's over. Let's now let it go. Really admired George for handing over the belts to Haney in the ring. I liked his interview when he said that, yeah, look, let him have his moment. I'll have my time again, maybe. So give him his belts, and I'm not going to deprive Devin Haney of what I was deprived of back when I beat Lopez. And we all know how classless Lopez was when he interrupted the interview and really insulted our intelligence by saying he won 10 of the 12 rounds, which was absolute bullshit. So that's one thing I will say about George. Really admired that, because I was a little bit fearful that it might be the whole I was robbed and all this sort of stuff. And so, yeah, that was good. I know I did see after the fight, and I hope I'm wrong, that there was a quote from George saying, well, apparently he landed more punches and this and that. George, I really, again, it's a little bit too soon after the fight to see everything that's been written and said and all the videos and all that sort of stuff. But I did see that. I hope he really pulls that back and just sits back and says, look, on the day I was beaten by a better fighter, who was better prepared, and who had a better game plan, disrupted my game plan and took me out of my zone and got the win. So that's why I would hope George sees. I know he was very respectful at the press conference too, which was great again. So, but there is talk of the rematch, of course. There is a rematch clause that Haney has to come back to Australia for the rematch. Look, to be honest with you, I really don't see the point. He was beaten so comprehensively, and it wasn't like say a Fenwick Nelson scenario where it was a tough fight and lots of controversy and everything. Let's do it again. This was a masterclass. And I hate to say it, but George was completely outclassed by Devin Haney. And I'm not sure he's got the capabilities. I hope I'm wrong, of course. I don't think he's got the capabilities to do enough to change or tweak anything in his arsenal or game plan or whatever it might be to alter the result. I really don't. I know he'll probably work on a few different things, but so will Haney. Haney will be better for it. And to come back to Australia, I don't know. I would hope that, I know George would like the hometown fans like behind him again, but I think if they bring Haney back to Australia to fight George, again, just my opinion, I think the fight falls really flat. I think I was actually surprised and a little bit disappointed by the final crowd. I will say it was only 41,000. And when I say only 41,000, it's a great crowd, but they did expect 50 plus, and even George said at some stage 60 plus. But to get 41,000, it's a good crowd. But considering the build up to it, the price of the tickets, the hype around the event, and the way Melbourne supporters or Melbourne people support these events, 41,000 was actually, I thought, disappointing. I think back in the day they got 39,000 to Fenwick Nelson. And in this day and age, with sort of how popular boxing's become again and the big stadiums, I think they would actually surpass that if they had it in this day and age. So I for one, was disappointed with 41,000. And keep in mind too, they probably would have given away 5,000 or 6,000. They flooded the radio airways with competitions and giveaways and all that sort of stuff. But look, I know they do that with every fight anyway, so I suppose that cancels it out. But 41,000, yeah, a little bit light for me. I would have thought 50,000 should have been the cap. Look, having said that, they would have made a shitload of money. Everyone would have made a ton. That's all it's about, end of the day. And I think everyone there had a great time. The poor old Greek supporters didn't have much to cheer about, unfortunately. They showed him a few times here on the TV, and there wasn't much reason to find their voice, but it is what it is. So look, so again, on the rematch, if it does happen, look, of course George is going to take it. Why wouldn't he? He's going to make millions of dollars again. That's what they're in it for. They're prize fighters, and he wants to have a crack at his titles, and I take nothing away from that. As I said, I think it changes nothing. I think from what I saw, Haney wins clearly again. But yeah, George, you've got the clause, go for it, earn your, $4, $5, $6 million, whatever it's going to be, and have another crack at it, and then at least you can have that peace of mind that you at least gave it another crack. And he will get more opportunities, by the way. He's a former champion now. Other fighters are going to want to fight him, or whether they're up and comers or other contenders, whatever. He's still going to have some big fights out there, no matter what happens in the rematch. So he's set for the next few years. So that's great. But if I was George, I must admit what I would probably do and his team is to say, okay, let's take the rematch. Forget about Melbourne for starters, because the Melbourne people won't come out a second time. I have no doubt if they got 41,000 at this event, a lot of those people would have been coming from interstate, maybe overseas and everything else, obviously, plus the locals. I think they struggle to get past 20,000 to a rematch, and if that, it might only be 15,000. So I think if they did comprehend, maybe bring it back, forget Marvel Stadium, it'll be a ghost town, go to Rod Laver Arena, whatever, have 15,000 people there, charge extra for the tickets. Those 15 loyal people or fans will want to go. So maybe charge extra and make it a bit more of a premium event and take it to Rod Laver and get 15,000 there, or take it to Sydney. Take it back to your hometown. You've done the Melbourne thing. Take it back there. Again, fight in front of 10, 15, 20,000 up there and make a payday. But even better, if I was George, I would say, all right, well, the Melbourne thing we've done now, let's go back to the States. Let's go to Las Vegas or New York or wherever it might be and put a big fight on there and, and do it that way. So, and I think also that would take a little bit of the pressure off George. Because I'm not sure what you guys thought, but I think he just, with the hometown fan, we've seen it lots of times, by the way. I think we saw it when Jeff Harding fought Dennis Andrews in Melbourne after he beat him in Atlantic City. All the pressure was now on him. Obviously saw it with Jeff Fennick against Azuma Nelson. All the pressure came on. So to maybe alleviate that pressure a little bit from George and just clear his mind about all the hype and all the talking it up and everything else that he had to do, let's maybe go to, as I said, to the States and just go back to that frame of mind that you had for Lopez, because I think that's his best chance. And I know that sounds funny that his best chance is to go to America and fight Haney in the rematch, but I just think it just gives him, it gives him a bit of clean air, lets him get up there and forget about the whole pressures of the Australian scene and just hopefully get back into that frame of mind he had for the Lopez fight. So there it is. That's my review of the fight. The official cards, by the way, were 116, 112 times 2 and 118, 110. I would have it 118, 110. I really struggled to give any clear rounds to George. I think the 2 rounds that he did win were still maybe debatable. I think it was the second round that was close and maybe one of the later rounds. I can't remember exactly what it was. But at the end of the day, yeah, I think giving him 2 rounds was probably generous, and I just found it really hard to make any case for any more after that. So again, congratulations to Devin Haney. I've got no doubt he'll be a very, very good champion. He's got some tough fights in front of him, I will say, with Lomachenko and also Ryan Garcia, Tank Davis. There's some others out there as well. So look, as I said, now officially undisputed lightweight champion of the world, so full respect to him. To George, thanks for bringing a massive event like this to Australia and especially to Melbourne, and as I said, I'm sure he'll dust himself off and have another crack, and he'll have some more opportunities down the track as well. So I hope you guys all enjoyed it. Interesting to hear what you guys have to say and how you saw it. But as I said, I had it 118, 110, maybe 119, 109, to be honest. So 11 rounds to 1. Could even have been a shutout, to be honest. So, but anyway, until next time, thanks for tuning in, and I'll be back in another week and a half. So look out for all the latest shows then. Again, thanks for watching, and we'll talk soon.